Hey guys, it's TheFrXion here, Tank12, however you call me, I don't really care, and welcome to War Thunder, or much rather, welcome back to War Thunder, since this is not going to be the first video you've seen about War Thunder on this channel. This time around, you can see we're playing in prop planes. Like, this is the very creme de la creme of the best prop planes that the war had to offer at the very final stage in World War II. Some of these prop planes even came after World War II. For example, this F2G1, which is the final Corsair propeller-propelled plane, and also this Focke-Wulf, which you can see the D9 version, a super sleek aircraft, very, very pretty as well. This is actually the captured Soviet version, and we are not going to be taking this guy for a spin. We're going to check out what we are flying. And what is this? This is the SO-8000 Narval. This is a French plane that was designated to be an aircraft carrier plane, and it actually was produced 3 times and was only a prototype. The prototype stage was completed successfully, but the problems with the plane were quite deep. It had quite a few problems, unfortunately. It was not suited for being used on an aircraft carrier, which was the biggest issue. The piston engine was not good enough. It really didn't live up to the speed that that it's supposed to be having, and it just wasn't what the French naval forces and the air forces were expecting, so that they scraped the product in the end. The aerodynamics also were a bit of a problem with this plane. As you can see, it's a single wing fixed aircraft right here with stabilizers at the back, and the engine is at the back, which is quite interesting. Most of the times the propellers are at the front, but with this plane it was at the back. Yeah, it didn't have the best characteristics, but I really enjoyed this plane in War Thunder. This thing has, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 6 cannons, 6 20mm cannons with a total of 1,800 rounds. That is 300 rounds per cannon. That's pretty damn impressive. Now, obviously, this vehicle is a premium plane. We're going to be switching over to the pilot's view right now, because this is quite an interesting game that I had. So in War Thunder, if we just switch over to the map, you have these points, these bases that bombers usually go for to destroy them. And we just called out an Ju-288C. This is a late-stage German war bomber that was really fast and had some really nasty armaments. It's also a premium plane in War Thunder, and right here we catch him off guard. He tries to maneuver right in front of us to the right, but we manage to set him on fire, and we're able to take the very first kill without taking any kind of damage. That's what you can do with this plane. This plane has massive amounts of armament. It has 6 guns. That is so much firepower that if you're going up against a target and you have it in its sights, usually if you just put 2 or 3 bursts into them, you're going to be able to kill them. What you can see over there is a Dornier 335 fighting a BL or a B1. I'm not entirely sure what it's called, if it's a BL or a B1. That is one of the very first Soviet jet prototypes that they made. It was just like the Me-163, which was the Comet, a little jet fighter, or Meteor as they call it, which just had a propulsion engine, a jet engine at the back, and it just looked like a rocket. And it was super dangerous to fly that plane. But either way, we have a Dornier 335, which is also quite a unique plane. It actually has prop engines at the back and at the front, which makes this like one of the fastest prop planes in the game, but also makes it quite weirdly to maneuver, because at higher speeds it will lock up and you're flying like a brick. Unfortunately, right there, our rockets did miss the target, and we have a bit of competition right here. It is the Focke-Wulf that we have looked at previously, and unfortunately he's right next to us. We almost collide right into him. Luckily, we get out of it. And now it's all about who gets the kill and who doesn't. Luckily for us, we just managed to put our guns on target and we secured the second kill. And there's the BL1. You can see that little jet plane right here flying past us. One of the earliest jets that you can play in the game, I think, with another American one, which are the lowest here. But it's quite interesting, quite fascinating to see jets at, you know, the early stages, like the way of thinking, how should we add these engines, these jet engines onto these planes and make them competitive. So with our Narval, we're now just basically flying around looking for targets, but what I've noticed is that there are some ground targets, and this is actually, with the 6 cannons that you have, this is quite a decent ground pounder. It can do quite a bit of damage, very extensive if you know how to maneuver the plane. Its top speed is supposedly 730 kilometers per hour, but seeing that top speed is really not something you'll be seeing most of the time. Most of the time, you only see about max 500 to 600 kilometers if you're flying in a straight line. It takes quite a long time to reach 700 kilometers. This is also a plane that is not built for climbing, so, well, it actually, obviously, it can climb, but it takes a very long time for this plane to gain any kind of height. It has only like 16 meters per second climb rate, which obviously is not going to be something that will help you if you're trying to outclimb a German plane. So you have to be very careful with that, and you much rather stay down to the ground than go very far up there, because with your speed and with the very limited climb rate that you have, you are an easy target if any German plane sees you, especially the BF 109s, the later stages, and the Focke-Wulfs, even the especially the Ta, which is one of the very late installments, and I think one of the last German propeller fighters. Super interesting. It was designed for very high altitude fighting to be able to reach the bombers, and yeah, the Ta 152 is a beautiful plane, and we're also actually going to be facing one in this gameplay. So just stick with me. Right now we're just trying to do as much damage as we can, collecting points. If we go over to the statistics board, right here you can see that we have already collected 2,501 points, gotten 2 kills, and destroyed about 7 or 8 ground targets. But the problem is, as you can see right over there, all of our guys are fixed in dogfights at the moment, and I think we just lost quite a few of them. At the moment it looks quite nice. We only have 4 enemy opponents, but we just lost 2 planes in a very quick succession right there. And that is probably because there are 2 guys on the enemy team that are playing together, and they're playing really, really well. Unfortunately, you don't see it right here, but the BF 109 and the other person who is flying the Ta 152 over there, as you can see, they are really, really combat effective. So unfortunately, we just lost the majority of our planes, except for us and the Tempest. And you can see the Tempest has really done a lot so far. He only has 60 points, and I have just been shooting ground targets, which is maybe a bit of a problem, because I have probably done the wrong thing. I should have not gone for ground targets. Right there we have a Ki-84, which is a Japanese fighter, and you do not want to go up against Japanese fighters because they're super maneuverable. But luckily for us, he's too close to the airfield. He just gets a massive hit in there, and it looks like he has lost quite a bit of propulsion. He's not going to be able to run away from us. Since we are not hurt, we can just charge him down, but at this point in time, I only had about, I think about 120 rounds on my 20mm gun. Luckily for us, we do manage to find the target right there. We do critically hit him and take him out of the game. So that was quite an essential kill, because now it turns out that it's a 3 versus 2 situation. There's an airfield right here, although this is not the standard airfield. The standard airfield is further back, but we're going to be landing here in Essen-Mülheim Airport. and we're going to be using this base as our forward operating position. Now, you have to keep in mind that in War Thunder, if you're landing on a base, you are not safe. If somebody's coming in and they are going to be strafing you, you're going to be looking really old because your anti-air guns aren't really that combat effective. Now, right here, what you can see is that my landing was not very good. Luckily for me, we've only lost the front wheels, but we can still repair them. So that's not too bad. Also, this runway is really, really short, so I'm lucky that the front wheels actually broke and that I landed on it as I landed right here, because in the end I was able to, you know, just repair my vehicle, get the ammo back in my plane, get some fuel, get the rockets in. And you can see that there, the Tempest over there is at a very high altitude, 24 kilometers away from me. So I do try to contact the Tempest right here. I'm not sure if you can see the chat, but I am telling him that I'm going to be coming his way to support him, because obviously it's a 3 versus 2 situation and we do not want the Tempest to be all by himself over there when we can help him out. Now, as I mentioned previously, this plane is not very good at climbing, so climbing with this thing, especially in later stages, is not a very good idea, but sometimes you just have to do it because you have to gain some altitude, you have to be above the enemies. That's what you have to do in prop planes. Prop planes, basically, you always have the advantage if you are above someone. If you're above them, you can basically dictate when you dive upon them. You just have to be very, very careful that you do not overspeed and that you don't get like stiff and your plane gets stiff and you're just gonna face plant into the concrete below. So you have to keep that in mind. That's something that you learn when you're playing aerialistic, but I've noticed that it takes a bit of time before you finally get it. So the Tempest right there, I think he just eliminated, oh actually no, he didn't eliminate the BF-109, but he did gain some altitude and he's coming towards me. So that's very, very good. He's coming towards me, I'm trying to climb right here, and you can see that my speed is just not really that impressive. My speed right there is just, yeah, it takes a while to get this thing up and running. So with the 4 rockets that we have on here, we're also losing a bit of climb rate. I think 1 meter per second is dropping off, but that's not too bad. I'm not really sure why I've decided to pick up the rockets, because they're not going to be really helpful against air targets, and I just thought that if I had to engage some ground targets, I would be able to do so. And since they only do reduce my speed by about 30 kilometers per hour, there are other, you know, rockets and ammo types, bombs that you can carry on your wing that will drastically reduce your speed and cause a lot of drag on the plane because of the different aerodynamics, and thus certainly it's not really worth carrying certain bomb loads or certain warheads in aerialistic. In ground forces or ground RB, it's certainly a different story. So the plan right here that the Tempest has told me is that he wants to stay over here and gain height and take out the planes while they are starting. So right there you can see a G56, which is an Italian fighter, and a Tempest, which is a British fighter and ground attacker. I think it's a combo. Manages to get right behind him, take him out because he's trying to climb, and just as the Tempest drops in, the G56 probably sees him and knocks him out of the air. Over there, unfortunately, we have a Ta-152. The Ta-152 is a very, very dangerous German fighter plane, especially because it can climb really, really well. You can see it takes me forever to be able to reach 2,000 meters, and I want to get away from the Ta-152. I want to get it as far away as I can, because I know that the Tempest is a really good plane to climb in, and I'm in a plane that really cannot climb very well. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get behind the Tempest, to climb behind him, because if I'm behind him, the Tempest can still act if somebody is going to be following him, or if somebody's following me. So the Tempest can protect my rear. The problem is just, if the Tempest gets caught with this plane that I have, I'm not going to be able to climb fast enough to reach the altitude that I need to. So I'm really dependent on this Tempest, that the Tempest, if he gets followed by someone, if he gets chased by several planes, that he has to drop into lower altitude. Because if he is going into the lower altitudes, I'm going to be able to really put in this massive engine and get to top speeds and be able to go down and chase the thing that's currently behind his tail. So right here you can see the Ta-152 is over there. The Tempest currently has changed his course. He's heading towards them, and we spot the Bf-109. So that's the two last remaining opponents on the enemy team. It's a 2-on-2 situation. Now you can see I'm still trying to climb, and we finally reached above 3,000 meters. Our top speed is just not really good though. You can see we have a top speed of 270 kilometers per hour right there, but I'm really trying to climb even further up. You can see that the Tempest is trying something. I'm telling the Tempest in the chat right now in this situation that he should fall back towards the base, that if he needs to dive, which is probably going to be the case, that the anti-air of our airstrip is going to be able to support us. And I think he didn't really read it, or he probably was preoccupied, but when I wrote it, I think I just wrote it right there, drag him to the airfield, that we have kind of an advantage, like a situation in our favor. Unfortunately, the Tempest does get caught up by the Bf-109 and the Ta-152, but he does the right thing. He decides to fall below and go all the way down, drop down. I know at this moment, this is my chance to dive in. So I dive in, I get most of the speed. I'm trying to get there as fast as I can, and the Tempest is making a looping to avoid these guys and to chase them towards me. He's flying towards me right now. That's exactly what I want to have in this situation, because I know I can be fast. So I fire all my rockets because I want to have them gone as quickly as I can, because I'm going to get some additional speed, and I drop down right here. So I want to take out the Bf-109 first and then the Ta-152, and hope that the Tempest is going to be able to avoid them as long as possible. So right there I open my guns, and I think I knock out the Bf-109, and right here you can see the Tempest has been knocked out, but I cannot get that edge on the Ta-152. I'm trying to engage him because I know if he can get away from me, he's going to be able to climb and take me out. And so this situation right there was super important, that I managed to get my guns on target. The Ta made a big mistake by swinging back in. He was hoping that he was going to be fast enough to dive past me without me being able to put my guns on him, but I was able to align my guns and get a full broadside on his cockpit and knock out his plane out of the sky, thus giving us the final edge of having 5 air kills and gotten about 5,000, almost 5,000 experience points in this battle. So this teamwork with this Tempest was really nice. The Tempest was doing exactly what I would have been, or what I would have hoped he would be doing. And he flew all the way back towards me instead of climbing further up. He decided to come towards me, ask for help. I was able to dive in, swoop in behind, take out the first target, and then with some luck, take out the second one. That was a really good game in my Narval, and I really enjoy this plane. This plane, I don't know, it's not the fastest, it doesn't climb very well, as you can see right there. It has decent turn time, but the guns on this thing just make it a great ground attacker. It's actually a decent plane, and I really enjoy it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this War Thunder video. As always, if you did, comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Until then, have a good one.